So white people,
Yeah.
am I right?
No.
So you grew up with Jairo and some other Latinos. How much do you feel Mexican or American? Is there some period when your childhood where you're like, what am I?
For me, I've come to actually realize, even though my parents did teach me Spanish, and I grew up, speaking Spanish and in that culture, I really am an American by customs and the way that I think and the education for the most part.
And there's that
really
divide with your older
Yeah.
family that you kind of feel some difference, right?
What's the
There
biggest
is.
point of contention between the Mexican part of yourself and the American side of yourself? What's the part that that you can't agree with the Mexican thing or something like that?
No, I totally agree with it. It's just I always kind of try to explain it in this way, where I was, educated. I have the Latino culture, that was always there. That's always been there from the very beginning, language-wise, because my parents taught me at first. But at the same time, I don't know what it's like to live in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I was there, was 10 years ago. So I can't really say that I'm Mexican, I'm
Yeah.
Mexican American.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm Mexican by default, right? But I grew up in
that's a question what.
Yeah.
Not only do kids have identity crisis just on their own, but especially kids who are either immigrants or have, a mixed race
Mixed
parent
heritage.
situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got to compound when you're
How did
a
it come to you? Because you said from being here,
Yeah.
you realized how American you were. What was the moment that sparked that?
For me, it was because honestly,
which cheeseburger was it?
fuck, it was In-N-Out
probably the
Burger.
second. It was the
It was
second.
an In-N-Out Burger. One day I had a 4x4 with grilled onions and shit, and I was like, no,
Animal style.
This is, yeah. Now there just came a point after I graduated high school, and I realized that my Spanish wasn't as good as it should be. Even though my parents talked to me in Spanish, it was my first language. There was times where I had difficulty communicating with my grandparents because my mom and my dad, they speak English, and my grandparents don't speak any English. So there was times where I was like, fuck, man, I can't even talk to my grandparents really,
Mm-hmm.
And I straight up took the initiative I don't know how many years ago, and I was like, fuck, man, my Spanish needs to improve, and I just stuck with it, and it's gotten a lot better than the past 5 years.
So the language is the barrier for you, but thinking
Yeah.
that you're American is because now you think of yourself as an English speaker learning Spanish. Would you agree?
Yeah, because for the most part, I didn't have the formación. I didn't have the educational side of Spanish. I had the
It was just
cultural
through the
side of
house.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. Then it's interesting because a lot of people that have that mixed heritage, they it's usually a language barrier thing for them as well. I would say anyone who has one language for their family and one language for their personal life is always going to have a hard time
Yeah.
joining those two things together.
And sometimes you're going to be thinking in one language and
Yeah.
you have to speak another.
Do you think in English?
Honestly, yeah, for the most part, but it's a reflex. If you guys meet somebody, for example, Grande, right, one of our friends, he when we're speaking in English, it's we're completely Americanized, but then it just the flip of the switch where it's just
you can turn it up to 11 when you start.
We could just go to 0 to 100.
It's really stereotypical.
Yeah.
And it's like a camaraderie. It's going back to your roots, kind of touching that feeling of oh, I'm in China, but I've also got this homie who's reminds me of some friend from middle school.
Yeah, that too, and I realized because I didn't study engineering or something. I studied history,
Yeah.
and I'm dude, it's an asset. It's such an asset to know another language. It's
Oh, for sure.